now we begin a new series looking at what's been dubbed the COVID generation, students whose lives were forever changed by the pandemic. CBS's Meg Oliver reports how young people continue to feel the effects, not to their health, but to their education.
In Louisville, Kentucky, Chris Lance is part of the attendance team, making up to 30 house calls a week searching for chronically absent students.
First stop of the day, What happened?
No answer.
No answer again?
No answer again.
Same thing?
Yeah.
In this school district in Jefferson County, 63% of families rely on schools for meals. Chronic absenteeism, defined as at least 10 absences within the school year, has always been an issue here. But since the pandemic, 38% more students are missing weeks, sometimes months of school. Last year, nearly 14 million students nationwide were chronically absent, nearly twice as many compared to previous years.
I think it is a major crisis.
Jefferson County Superintendent Marty Polio.
When you think of housing instability, food instability, a student who doesn't have clean clothes may not come to school.
There is a youth resource center in each Jefferson County school that provides everything from clean clothes and hygiene products to food for struggling students.
We don't want to punish them for not going to school. We want to take away all the barriers that might be keeping them from coming to school.
Students like 19-year-old Hector, who in addition to school works 40 hours a week to help support his family.
How many school days did you miss last year?
Like a half of the year and then I come to school.
Half of the year you didn't come to school?
Yeah.
After several house calls, Lance was able to convince Hector to return to school.
How does it feel that this school helped bring you back to school after you missed almost half a year last year?
That feel like I am special. Yeah.
With added support, Hector will graduate high school in 2025 at 20 years old.
Do you feel like you're making a difference, especially when you're going to these doors and no one's even answering?
I think if you affect one person, it's a difference, especially, in some of our communities, you could save a kid.
Meg Oliver, CBS News, Jefferson County, Kentucky.
We turn now to part 2 in our new series, The COVID Generation. Math scores of U.S. students hit a historic low on an international exam, the first measure of how the U.S. compares to other countries since the pandemic. Well, CBS's Meg Oliver reports tonight on how one state right here at home is fighting back against academic decline.
It's 7 a.m., an hour before school officially starts at Cane Ridge Elementary in Nashville.
Good morning.
And hundreds of students are ready to crank up the learning. Small groups meet 3 days a week before, during, and after school for what's called high-dosage tutoring to combat pandemic learning loss.
Crocodile.
Well, in my view, the kids were at stake.
Tennessee Republican Governor Bill Lee called a historic legislative session back in January of 2021 to address his state's failing test scores, while many students across the country were still attending school virtually.
It's kind of one of the redemptive stories of the pandemic for me is we implemented things that we weren't doing before that will produce better outcomes than we had before the pandemic.
Combining federal pandemic relief funds with the grant matching program allowed the state to pay for 3 years of tutoring, 4 years of summer camps, and an enhanced literacy program.
Where would your students be without this high-dosage tutoring?
Low. They would be very low academically. Do you know what a myth is? They probably would not be ready for middle school. Rakaya, can you start reading this for us?
Today,
English teacher Kelly Kosher has been tutoring 3 sessions a week since the program started in 2021.
in the future, there's going to be one person.
That's it.
Helping kids like 10-year-old Rakaya Woods.
I got 2 Fs in ELA, but then I fixed those scores and I got Bs or As.
Is that because of the tutoring?
Yeah.
Before the pandemic, about a third of Tennessee third graders were reading at grade level. Now, 2 years after intensive tutoring began, statewide test scores among 3rd to 8th graders have increased by 8 points in English and almost 10 points in math.
It's working, and the evidence is showing it. We'll likely continue it, and we hope it's a model for others.
If we are talking about equal rights,
A lesson worth repeating. Meg Oliver, CBS News, Nashville.
We want to turn now to part 3 in our series, The COVID Generation. Students isolated during the lockdown turned to their cell phones and social media, and it has taken a toll on their mental health. 57% of high school girls in the U.S. said they felt persistently sad during the pandemic. That is double that of the boys. CBS's Meg Oliver shows us what one school is doing to help.
At Newburgh Free Academy in New York, cell phones are locked away for the entire school day, including lunch. Students like Tyson Hill and Monique May say it's a relief after constantly being on their phones during the COVID lockdown, when screen time among adolescents more than doubled.
How much do you blame the phones and social media for taking a toll on your mental health?
All of it.
All of it.
For me personally, yeah.
I blame my darkest moments because of my phone.
Have you ever been bullied online or felt left out after looking at social media?
Of course. Throughout my middle school experience, there was a lot of people talking about you, whether it be on Snapchat, posting a story that made fun of the way you looked, and it made me feel depressed.
The youth mental health crisis is the defining public health issue of our time. If we do not address it with urgency, then I worry we will lose an entire generation of children to depression, anxiety, and suicide.
This year, U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy issued an advisory on the effects of social media on youth mental health.
Would you consider advising the country to ban smartphones during school hours?
I do think that we should have restrictions on phones in the school setting. We fundamentally have to understand that these devices, and in particular social media, is behaving largely as an addictive element.
Newburgh Free Academy Assistant Principal Ebony Clark says banning phones has helped cut down online bullying.
All I'm doing is giving them the opportunity to engage in school and leave the drama outside these doors.
Now that you don't have that distraction during the school day, how much has it helped you as a person?
I'm more confident in who I am, and I think that just comes from not being able to worry about what other people are saying about me, just being me.
Meg Oliver, CBS News, Newburgh, New York.